And actually, me and her have a jewelry line together now. Did I tell you that?
No, you didn't, but you're going to tell me now. Tell me about it.
Yeah, well, it's funny. When we lived in Kentucky, she started a jewelry line, and she called it Inspired by Amber.
Mm-hmm.
And she would make earrings and necklaces, and she sold them to different, like, boutiques in that area. We lived in, like, I think it was Hopkinsville. I was only, like, 3 years old back then. And I used to actually sit at the table with her and, like, help her pick out beads and stuff. And it was so much fun. And, of course, then she stopped doing that because then she got more into her store and writing more books, so she kind of, like, put that on the back burner. And then just about a year and a half ago, I mean, we have always wanted to do something together.
Right.
So about a year and a half ago, we were like, why don't we start up the jewelry line again? So we started it. We still call it Inspired by Amber. And we're working on getting that out right now, which is so exciting to be able to work with her, you know, on something that she started over 20 years ago, you know?
Well, what she started for you, I mean, it was inspired by you, and she did all that stuff. I think that's fantastic that you're able to work with her, and you know, because you build that bond a little stronger than it was before.
Exactly.
Yeah. Until she starts yelling at you, and then you have to get into little arguments and stuff.
Yeah, our creative differences, right?
Yeah,
we haven't really had any. We're pretty much on the same page. But you know, we're still working on getting a website out. That has been like the hardest thing for us right now, is getting a website made, and that should be like the easiest thing, because don't like a million people know how to make websites.
Yeah, but
it's such a headache.
Yeah, you know what the problem is, and I you know, I speak to a lot of people. Even though, you know, you think it's easy to get a website out, you develop it. You have to think about e-commerce and the different formats it can be in, and so on and so forth. And then on top of that, you have to trust the web developer that you have coming on. Because some of these guys, you know, they work from home, they do their stuff, they're here today, gone tomorrow.
That's what we've been going through, unfortunately.
Oh, I could have figured that one out as soon as you said website problem. Yeah, but you have to
that's like the key. You know, you need to have a website, especially because right now we aren't we only have it being sold in her store in Pennsylvania, and you know, we can't really start really talking about it if no one really has a place to go and look at it. You know, so it's like a big deal to kind of get that done.
Yeah, you got to do something. Tell your mama to get on the ball with this, man.
Oh, I know, but I took the lead control. It's my fault.
All right, well, Amber, get with the program. You're holding your mother back.
I know, I am. I'm holding us both back. For sure.
But your mom, she wrote one of the books she wrote was Psychedelic Chick.
And Psychedelic Chic, actually.
Oh, Chic.
Chic, yep.
You see that? This is what happens, and I told you earlier that I was drinking tea. And what's happening here is that I'm getting dehydrated, so I think my brain is like kind of wandering. Yeah, but well, that's what happens. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. But you modeled for your mom with the Psychedelic Chic.
Yeah.
And you did some stuff. And now, was stuff like that in catalogs and whatnot?
Well, we did Psychedelic Chic years ago. We worked on that together. And then just 2 or 3 years ago, we did a follow-up, like a part 2 to that. It was called Jet Set Fashion. And I modeled for that as well. I got a New York photographer to shoot it. We shot it in Pennsylvania. But we did all that in Pennsylvania, and it was just for that book.
Oh, okay. That's pretty cool, though. You know,
it was a lot of fun to work on.
That's very cool. Now you were doing that now, but you went to FIT, right?
Yes.
Okay, but you had to go through. I mean, it's not easy to get accepted there, is it?
No, it's not. My best friend and I both applied, and she didn't get it. I was so sad. But when I found out, I remember getting a call from my guidance counselor. I was in art class, and I got a call from my guidance counselor to come down to the office, and he told me, and it was like the greatest day ever. Because I knew, like I told you, I knew when I was 13 I wanted to come here to New York to go to school. Well, so when I got accepted, that was kind of a big deal.
Oh yeah, that's a big thing. That's why I brought it up. It's not easy to get into that school. You know, but I'm sure that when you got when your guidance counselor told you that, you were happy. Then you left, and your friend was right there in the hallway, and you had to kind of like put a different face on. I know you did.
I know.
You had to. You know what? But you grow up, things happen, and I'm sure she's happy in her life.
Yeah.
I'm sure she's not crying about it. I didn't get the FIT. I would have been a different person.
Well, it's funny because she wanted to go for interior design, and but now she's actually going to Penn State for what's it called, physical therapy. So it's something just completely know?
Yeah, well, now she can
than
help
what she
people.
originally planned on doing, which happens to a lot of people.
Yeah. But now she can help people.
Exactly, and she's been my biggest helper. She's like my therapist sometimes. She's like my best friend for forever.
Come over here, stretch out. she goes and she takes care of you. All right, so now you're in New York. You went to FIT. You graduated, and then you started pursuing your acting and modeling a little more feverishly.
Yes.
And
the great thing was I came here to really focus on school first, like I said, and then I started to get approached in the street, which is great because people were like, can I use you for this? Can I use you for that? And then that segued me into finding small agencies, and I would start doing extra work on commercials, and that's where I got really the bug for acting, like just being on set. And then that made me go out and get my headshots and go out and get my comp cards and then submit them to all the agents, and that's how I've had my agents for the past, I've been in New York for like almost 10 years now, so.
Oh, wow. Well, can I ask you something? Because, you just said when you were walking on the street, people will come to you and say, oh, well, you should be a model, this and that. Look, sometimes I go to the mall. And I see these, these kids walking around, and then this, I don't know, you have these people going to people saying, hey, you want to be a star? Hey, you want to be a star? What's your experience with that? And I want our listeners to hear that because you've been through it. And I know I've heard horror stories where people were approached, and it turned out to be a nightmare for them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You cannot trust anybody. The biggest thing is, if anyone approaches you or comes up to you in the mall, on the street, wherever, it's never legit if they ask you for money up front. Like if they ask you to come in for a meeting and they sit you down and they're like, okay, great, you have all this potential, I can get you all this great work, and give me X amount of dollars and you have to shoot with this photographer only, or give me this amount of money and then you're going to start making money. Never. That's always a scam. You should never have to pay for anything up front, ever. That's the biggest rule.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because, again, I hear horror stories, even with photographers.
Yeah.
Maybe you can...
There's a lot of creepy ones out there. You gotta watch. Never go anywhere by yourself, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And the great thing is now Google, you could just search someone's name and you could pretty much find out anything you need to know about them.
Yeah, without a doubt. Okay, but do me a favor, if you can do this for me, because let our listeners know what to look out for, what to beware, and as far as a photographer is concerned, because we had a professional photographer on the show, and he actually photographed some high-end models and that you see in Elle magazine and all that stuff now, and we went through a whole segment talking about that. But I like getting the perspective of the model as well. So maybe you can let our listeners know what when you're looking at a photographer, what is it that you're looking for, and how can you protect yourself?
Well, I mean, the first thing would be recommendations, like hearing about that certain photographer through someone else. If you have an agent, having the agent recommend shooting with certain photographers. If you do happen to run across somebody on the street that gives you their card and says they're a photographer, I would say definitely look into them, search their names, see what kind of work they do. But if you do want to give them the opportunity to shoot with you, I would never go by yourself. Mm-hmm. Because you just can't trust them. You just don't know what you're getting yourself into sometimes. So always bring somebody with you, either your mom or your boyfriend or some sort of chaperone of some sort. I mean, there's all sorts of warning signs. Like, you could kind of tell by the, I don't know how easy people, like, when I meet people and I know they're not legit, like, I just know. I'm really not gullible at all, luckily, but some people are. So you just have to be careful and cautious. And like I said, there's Google now, so you could look these people up and you'll find a lot of stuff about them. Just that way.
Well, I think you touched on something as far as being gullible. Because some models that want to be models, and they're not really models, but they want to be models. What happens? They they hook up with a photographer, and they're not going. They're so, I guess they want it so badly that they'll go and do things that they shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, I know. And the thing is, luckily, knock on wood, I was never like that. It's hard for me to even speak for them. It happens all the time, though.